live. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our screening. I am here with 5 of the directors from directing The Actor for Camera, and we'll introduce them. They'll introduce their work and say why they were inspired to make their films, and then we have another set of directors that are in the waiting room. So this should be a very exciting night of surprises. So starting with Adam, could each director actually introduce your project that you worked on and say how you came to make this film? What inspired you?
Sure. Hi, I'm Adam. I took this class last term. It was a great time, and I directed the Show Must Go On, which is the one with the director and the actors rehearsing a play. It's hard to think about what really inspired me for that piece because it's a little crazy. I think it really came to make something, which was probably the best part of this class. Was we had this assignment to just create a film by the end of the term, and I was assistant directing a play, even though it was nothing like that at all. But being involved in the theater and having this assignment at the same time made me think of, like, what if there was this crazy director at a play rehearsal? What would that look like?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We'll hear more from Adam in a bit. How about Bernardo?
Okay, so hi, I'm Bernardo. I directed O Amor é Espetáculo Itinerante, or Love is an Itinerant Spectacle. Wow, it's kind of hard to say what exactly inspired me to write and direct this movie. The first thing that comes to my mind is just a small essay from a friend here in Brazil. He wrote it's a very short story in 2nd grade of high school about this guy that was obsessed with his neighbor, something like that. And every day he was like daydreaming about this girl, and about like a magical meeting with this girl, but just like on his mind. And in the end, the girl knocks on his door, and he said like, she has this beautiful hair and she has everything what she could ask for, and she asked for sugar, something very very simple. and then he gives sugar, and he says like, and the girl goes back to her dorm or to her apartment, and she doesn't even know my name. And I thought it was so powerful. Is very small interactions between people in our everyday life, and that inspired me a lot to create this story who would end in the similar, not exactly, but similar way. And yeah, and also like the first lines that are speak out loud during the movie are exactly extracted from his play. So I'll kind of like play like that.
Okay, thank you. I'll hear more from you later. All right, the directors of The Initiation.
Initiation.
Initiation. It was called The Fight at one point, was it not?
It was.
Yeah,
it
was.
Title,
yeah. Okay, well, I'm Casey Smerczynski, and yeah, I was in this great trio. We all directed it. Alessa will tell you she was a cinematographer. Katie was essentially also the producer and the editor. We all did a lot. We also had Nick Gutierrez acting and / co-directing in it as well. Yeah, so we just wanted to make something really fun and something that we could have fun with editing as well. We had a lot of like special effects in there, and and yeah, I don't know. We had fun writing the script, and it was kind of like a mix between some weird Marvel college student fight club movie, and I don't know. It just came out of nowhere, and we had a lot of laughs also filming it, and yeah, it was great. It didn't really feel like a project in the end.
Cool.
Yeah, we kind of sat down at Starbucks and we started with superheroes, and it kind of just rolled from there. You know.
And so I want for the trio, if you could talk about like what your individual role was, that would be helpful for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can. So
you go.
I'm Katie Foreman. I was kind of like the lead editor, also helped direct and mostly produce. And we all sat down and wrote it together, and then shot it together, directed, and kind of threw it together. I was lead editing, lead special effects, and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Cool. All right, Alessa.
Okay, yeah. I'm Alessa. This is my first directing or film class ever, and I worked mostly as cinematographer, but we all helped with everything. It was so much fun to learn about all of the things I had no idea about, because the other two are quite good at what they do, and I learned a lot from them. But yeah, what inspired me to take this class, I came into this class really last minute, and if I'm really honest, what inspired me is I watched 2 really visually stunning action movies over winter break, and those were Frozen 2 and Star Wars. And I was like, I've been doing a lot of photography for my whole life, and I was like, I have to make something that moves. I really want to just make a film. So, yeah.
Cool. And Casey, I have to turn on my light because this is looking like a horror movie. I got my candles here, and it's like, okay. But Casey, introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I was one of the lead actors, which was really fun, and technically my first acting job, I guess. I was also lead acting in another senior thesis, which I spent a lot of time on. So I would often come to set not knowing lines for our project. But yeah, so I acted. I helped Katie in the studio. She did everything, though. I just sat there and told her if I couldn't hear it or not, and if the lighting was bad or something. And I co-directed. I mean, yeah, we all did everything. It was really, it was quite the group effort.
Okay, cool. So you guys hold tight. We're gonna introduce the films from the Docufantasy course, the 3 directors. So Peter, can you swap the students in that are in the other course? And here I am alone with candles. Hi, Marina. And Malets. And Awo. Hello. Oh, it's like being in class again.
A little bit.
But only it's not. I'm just kidding. So could you please all introduce yourselves and say what you did, what inspired you to make the film that you made? Marina, can you start?
Yeah. Hey, y'all. My name's Marina, and I am a junior from Miami. So the inspiration between Ven Pa' Acá is I grew up in Miami where the majority are Hispanic, but there's always been a voice in the back of my head asking me, like, why is my skin darker than my friends? Why do I look different? And that didn't really come to light until I went to Dartmouth and I became a minority there, and my skin spoke for me more than I did. And so being grouped in different communities that I didn't identify with at first was kind of a shock for me. And then also I visited, I was very privileged enough to study in Ghana, and that added to my questions of identity and my ancestry, being Puerto Rican and Colombian, and where my Blackness comes from, and how to really explore that now that I'm asking myself all these new questions. So Ven Pa' Acá features a lot of interviews of my peers that are in the same boat, and it traces back my family through interviews about how the Afro-Hispanic community, specifically my family in Miami, thinks and talks about race, talks about Afro-Hispanicness.
Okay, thank you. And we'll talk with you more later. Awo, can you introduce yourself? And one time I got an email from Awo saying, signing her name Iyabo. It had been a long night of editing, I think.
Yes.
But go ahead and introduce yourself and say what inspired your film.
Sure thing. Hi, my name is Awadu. My film was called Under Purple. And the inspiration for that really just came when I was trying to, I was applying for some like scholarship thing, and it requires me to have like this whole thesis. So I was trying to, further understand / like contextualize what it's like to be a Black woman at Dartmouth. And I'd also been like, I'd watched Moonlight, like I think the week before we had like project proposals. So I was thinking about Black womanhood, but then also sexuality. And then I was also just very like focused on like lighting, and what Black people look like under certain lights. And then also just from like everyday conversations with my friends, a majority of whom are Black women. That was where I drew most of my inspiration from for this project. So the project really just sought to, make commentary on like what it's like to be a Black woman under purple. And by that, it's like purple symbolizes, yes, like royalty and riches, but then it also is like the color that someone can turn after they have a bruise. So I was trying to, just like further explore those two different, not necessarily extremes, but rather just like ranges, and that was, that's what inspired my work.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
And Malets, The Fisherman's Dilemma. Oh, I just introduced you and said what, but can you do it again, please?
Hi, so my name is Malets. I'm from Botswana, and my film is called The Fisherman's Dilemma. And basically what inspired the film was sort of what first got me into filmmaking was when I was back home and I got to like work with the film crew, and I just sort of like took pictures of the space I was in, and this kind of served as like a memory scape as to that moment. And then the second thing was just as the title says, it's sort of like a dilemma, and it's something that as I continue to work on the film, is something that I saw as a place that I find myself in. You have to choose the indecision.
Mm-hmm.
So what the film does is it tells us a conversation with the fisherman, and it basically tries to get at the main dilemmas that people find in their lives. And it serves as a metaphor for that. But then for me personally, it was just sort of, especially it being my senior year, was kind of like me deciding what exactly the next steps I'm going to be taking are. And it was sort of like a dilemma I found myself in.
Mm. Okay, so if you all have some noise happening in the background, just mute yourself. Thank you. Thanks for that explanation too. We will hear more from you. Actually, I'm gonna make a follow-up question to you, Malet. With your film, there was a tagline underneath the title, "The Plight of the Commons." Yeah. And I wanted you to kind of go into that. I mean, the whole narrative was very poetic. And you definitely have this voice of a storyteller. So what did you mean by the plight of the commons? It seemed like there's a lot to unpack there.
Well, so the tragedy of the commons is basically a game theory concept that I covered in one of my econ classes. And it basically just says when there's a lot of resources available and people or parts act in a certain way, they tend to act in a way that's more destructive than it is conducive for everyone else. So, for example, in the case of fishermen, a lot of fish in the sea, but then what happens is you get cases of overfishing. So that is like the whole scope of it. But then my reason of including it in this film was basically just to say that there is another way, and that's sort of like, this is like the beginning of a journey trying to explore that different way as to this conundrum.
Okay, thank you. And well, you kind of answered the question that I had, but I was going to ask you about color and how your choice of how did you use color. But I also am curious about some of the other B-roll, not B-roll, but the dancing and the other scenes that you laid on top of the poetry. How did you stumble across that, or did you plan that? and how did you choose to incorporate it into your film?
Yeah. So let me see. So in regards to the colors that show up aside from purple are red and blue, and that's because like when you put them together, you get purple. For me personally, red was supposed to symbolize more of like, like anger. And the blue, I think it was like softer tones of blue, which is literally just supposed to symbolize like, I guess like the opposite of that, softness and compassion. And in regards to like, you'll see like some of the Black women like dancing on camera. That was more of a, so for a lot of the spoken word poetry that you hear, I hadn't really known like what visuals I wanted to accompany that. Like at first I was thinking I just had black space, but it felt a little bit too plain for me. So then I decided to, I just what would happen is we would play the clip, and then it was very like abstract. We'd be like, okay, what do you like feel when you do this? And then we would just like start moving our bodies.
So it was like a collective improvisation.
It was definitely like collectively improvised. And then we would shoot it on camera, and as I was shooting, I'd play the sound too. So it was like they were dancing to the sound, which was helpful. It wasn't too hard though, because two of the women are actually dancers, so like that was fine for them. And yeah, that's how those scenes came about. It was a lot of improvisation for sure. But then it was like once we like got the first one down pat, then we decided, okay, for the next ones, like we're definitely gonna have dancing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, Marina, put yourself on mute. Oh, whoa. Just kidding. Marina, how did you spent so much time on the script of your film, and it was really important for you to kind of get everything to feel right, because you're dealing with a lot of different points of view within yourself and perspectives from what you're learning and from the outside that you were considerate of. So can you talk about the process of your finding your film structure through the script and how you arrived at the one that's there now in this edit?
Yeah, so 90% of the work was finding the script. Sorry.
That's okay.
Well, mostly writing the script. I took a lot of time for that because talking about race is not easy. And I know I wanted to recognize all my privileges, being lighter skinned, and being able to talk about this. So I wanted the audience to know how nuanced I recognize this topic to be, rather than just me coming here and just saying, oh, I don't want to be Black, I don't want to be white. It was way more nuanced than that. And so that's why I took a lot of time with the script. And I would say that the script came first and then the visuals came second. So I wanted like what I was saying to lead my documentary. And it was just very organic with my script. It was sort of just what I was feeling already. So the writing came easy to me. It was more so how did the audience perceive it. So I had a lot of people read my script to make sure that I wasn't saying, the way I was saying it was appropriate. Because I wanted to be conscious of like the different audience members that would be watching this video, and make sure that the way I'm talking about Blackness wouldn't come off the wrong way.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll send you to the waiting room in case someone goes and has questions for you guys. All right, directors of the actors. Here we are again. Okay, Adam, for The Show Must Go On, it occurred to me when I was watching it that there were so many levels of performance within it, and that could be like very difficult to achieve. For example, in the beginning, I thought that they had an okay performance, and then gradually it started degrading with the intervention of the director, and then by the end, they're really cooking. So I was curious, how did you approach that? Am I talking loud too?
You're talking great.
Okay.
That's a great question. I guess we started by just giving those directions, I gave those directions to them about, each time we went through that scene, because it reoccurs so many times throughout the 10 minutes of the film. The different idea, motivation behind each one, where they were in their characterization or whatnot at each point. But I also think something that helped was the time that we had. We had limited time to make the movie.
Oh,
We had
sorry about that. Yeah.
No, it's great. It was helpful.
Yeah.
We had, I think, 5 hours. The whole thing was done in 5 or 6 hours of shooting time. And so there was sort of this rush. So that is why a lot of those scenes, actually, with the rushed energy and this idea of we have to get something done, it was almost like we were paralleling what was happening in the film, where these actors just wanted to get out.
It was just like, oh my gosh, we have to rush and finish this film. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a meta narrative. Yeah. That's great. And the initiation, when you worked with, you were working with Casey, so you had a lot of insight into the script. So how did you approach working with the other actors and then setting up the shots for the action scenes where there were a special effect happening?
I'll let Alessa talk to the shooting of those scenes, but we pretty much just came into every set shot time, every just like time we planned on coming to set, and right then and there we'd have kind of like 10 to 20 minutes to block out all of our scenes real quick. Yeah, we were on somewhat of a time limit, but it was fun in that way. So yeah, we would take those first 10 to 20 minutes to block out every shot, and then the actors would start to show up, and then we'd maybe not finish in time. They'd have to wait around a little bit, but that was a good lesson to learn, and everyone that acted in it was so patient with us and just wanted to help. But yeah, Alessa, do you want to talk to the fight scene type shots?
Yeah, sure. I think so. I had drawn them out before, but time constraints and also just the fact that this was our first time sort of shooting something that was so, we had a lot of different types of visuals to include, and we really had to make decisions and cut things down. So things had to be cut, but we blocked it, as Casey said, and then we'd set up our equipment, and it took a lot of moving of that tripod around, especially when we realized that we needed a specific split between two particular actors, so one of them could have a special effect on one side, and it wouldn't affect another actor's image. So Katie can definitely talk about that, but it was a really interesting process, and we got to use some equipment that was difficult, but really fun to use, like I can't remember what it's called now. The
Dana Dolly?
Yes, the Dana Dolly.
We got a donation for a really great piece of equipment. Yeah.
It was awesome to work with.
And then you guys did a steady, like a glide cam shot or movie cam, is it?
So we tried.
We tried, yeah.
The Steadicam that they had wasn't for the types of cameras that we were using. So in the end, we just tried to do some things where I held really still. But in the end, what worked best was having it on the tripod.
Okay, yeah.
So,
yeah, and I guess speaking to that, trying the forward thinking while we were blocking out before the actors would get there, me and Alessa really worked together thinking about the special effects we had in mind for those scenes, like the scene with Adam and the scene with Nick, the freezing. We really had to think about the blocking and thinking about where someone would stop and start, and that was a lot of our communication going into that, which was a lot of fun to figure out and put together.
Yeah. So did you all of you rehearse with your actors? With the docufantasy people, we talked about some improvisation that was happening, some like discovery that was happening on set. Did you guys rehearse beforehand? Did you even have time? Because I think I remember you all being very busy.
We did.
Yeah.
You did?
Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, because you can speak to it more because you're acting in it. But it was really important to have rehearsals for the things that had blocking, for characters to move around each other in a way that the light would hit them in the right way. Like that scene with the three of them, the lights were shining in a very particular direction, and if they stepped too far back, they would just be in complete darkness. So the blocking for that was really important, and the way we wanted to edit it together, we were thinking about that when we did the blocking already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think with a lot of our rehearsing, most of our actors are athletes and a lot of people in theater. So while the play was going on, we had very limited time to, our schedules were so haphazard lining up. So a lot of our rehearsal time was also our blocking time. So as we were blocking, we were like live rehearsing it. Thankfully, Adam was so great at the theater fighting. So when he came in, him and Casey kind of just planned in, went at it, and rehearsed it together, and we were able to shoot right after, which was perfect.
That was so fun. Adam, shout out to you.
Yeah.
He was so busy, and we really got that fight scene out in like, I don't know, like an hour, 2 hours.
Well,
who knows?
while we're giving shout outs, I have to give a shout out to Bernardo. Oh, he's over there now.
Thank you.
We were just talking about mirroring. He's over there. But for being such a great actor in my production as well.
I just remember the yelling scream. You said the director was like, "That's not a scream. This is a scream." I was like, "Ah!"
The sounds coming from that film studio all term were absolutely raucous.
Oh my gosh, we were just laughing the whole term.
This scene was so funny because I think we shot it like 2 times. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
But
that was the scene. We shot it like 5 times, but over 2 days. That was the only one we did over 2 days, and so for those 2 days, anybody who was walking through the Visual Arts Center at Dartmouth was like, "What is going on in there?"
And then plus
somebody being murdered.
Yeah. I mean, and then when the editing came, and it was just even louder. So we were playing back rough cuts and fine cuts. So, and Bernardo, how about you with the Dreamscape? How did you decide to cut, how did you already know what you were going to do, cutting between the professor's testimony and the dream? Did you already plan that at the script phase, or was that something that you discovered and came to realize that you wanted to include later?
Oh, thank you for the question. It was already planned in the script, actually. My idea was to make something a little bit ambiguous, because at the same time, the main character is trying to develop his own story. He's also arguing with his past. So by these dream sequences, we don't know if it's actually his memories or his story, or what are the boundaries between both of them. So I had planned that beforehand. But at the same time, I tried to add some more scenes, but eventually they didn't came up as expected, so I had to cut.
It's just too many scenes. It was supposed to be 7 pages tops.
No, it happens,
Yeah, it happens.
But I hope still could get this idea between like both.
Yeah, and you also chose not to interpret the poem at the end, give subtitles. Was that intentional? And also, Marina, you chose not to translate your Spanish too. So I want to know the same thing from you after Bernardo answers this.
Oh, about the poem, well, there are two things that I thought about whether I should translate it or not. One of the things is that actually the poem is not the most important part on that scene. It kind of works as a song, because like we have the melody and the poem kind of mixes as a lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
but also at the same time, I didn't come up with a translation that I was completely comfortable with. So instead of just putting some random thing, I thought it was better to keep the translation
Integrity,
out of the
yeah,
movie,
yeah.
and just have it just like the words mumbling in the background as kind of like a lyrics in the song.
Okay. And Marina, how about you? When it came to, now we're starting to mix things up. This is fun. Oh, I can't hear you. Are you muted?
Yeah. Okay. I have two versions of my documentary, and in one of them, the poem isn't translated because, like they said before, it's very hard to find a translation in English that really fits what the story is saying in Spanish. Like there's certain words of endearment, like when you call somebody negra in Hispanic culture, that when you translate to English loses that endearment. So the story in the version that it is translated kind of loses that. For English speakers, they don't interpret it the same way that, you know, a Hispanic person would. And so sometimes I would rather them just not get the story and continue on with the documentary than misinterpret what the story is saying.
Okay, thank you. So my last question for you guys, because we do have one live comment, but I think it's like spam or something, is what are you working on next? You know that I like to keep the fires ablazing when it comes to creativity, and there are other production professors, Professor Mack, Professor Flanagan, Professor Ruoff, and then there's myself. What are you working on? What do you plan on taking in the future, or what are you working on independently as far as your creativity? Casey.
Well, I wish I could take classes in the future, but I'm graduating,
my
so
gosh.
sadly.
Okay. Yeah.
I know. I'm really upset about that because I really just discovered the film department like last year. So I was just taking all these film classes, and I definitely wish I could take more. But yeah, so currently I'm working on a script in Screenwriting 2 with Professor Bill Phillips. And I'm really trying to eventually sell it or get it made, which is exciting. I'm also just like doing little shoots here and there, and you know, putting things together with Premiere and kind of just having fun with it and having no restrictions and knowing it's not getting graded is really nice. And what else? I'm a studio art major, so aside from film, I guess I have a lot of studio art projects going on, but kind of still in that same creative vein. I just keep, you know, I just want to keep producing projects after projects and never stop, really.
That makes me so happy. All right. Katie?
Yeah, right now with Iyabo as my lovely mentor, my culminating project is probably my next big project I'll be working on, and I'm hoping to make a pilot or the first 2 episodes of a web series about 2 girls who wake up in quarantine after a crazy night and now have to quarantine together with strangers. So hopefully that'll be a fun culminating project to work on this fall. Other than that, I'm working for the admissions, doing some fun videos for the new incoming freshmen, and hopefully somehow me and Casey can hook up this summer and make some fun projects.
Yeah. So you are able to shoot still. See? It's not all obsolete because of quarantine. So you're still shooting?
Exactly. Yes.
Awesome.
Still editing.
Oh, still editing. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And Alessa?
Yeah, so I also just discovered the film and theatre department, and I'm just like, this whole new world of my life has opened up, and I'm so happy about it. This term I've been busy doing acting in the play that Adam is directing, Gallery. You should all go see it on Sunday. Link is on the department website. And so that's been really fun. That's the first thing I've ever acted in, unless you count like narrator number, whatever, in my junior school play. So it's all new world for me, and I'm just looking forward to like browsing new classes. in my free time, I'm doing a lot of photography. I've done a lot of photography before, but I'm definitely experimenting with more movie content because I think that's the next step for me.
Okay. Yeah. And you're a human design?
Yeah, so I'm a geography major.
Oh, geography. Okay.
Still thinking about if I'm going to modify, and then my minor is human-centered design. Haven't actually started classes on it yet, but that's my projected minor. So things to do with design and the human experience. That's just really interesting to me.
Awesome.
And I will be doing that in the future.
Cool. Well, it was great having you here. And Malets, what are you working on next?
So next, I plan on working on 30 minutes animated documentary about the history of Botswana, specifically focused on like pre-apartheid, where a few chiefs left Botswana and went to the UK. And this was the time of Cecil John Rhodes was sort of like the British company was expanding in Southern Africa, and sort of adapting it sort of to be used in primary schools and like high schools. So basically a 30-minute animated documentary film.
Wonderful. And you had prior experience with Professor Ruoff's class a couple of times, right?
Before. Yeah, so I took introduction to documentary filmmaking with Professor Ruoff, which is great. The group and I shot Under the Bridge, which was a really good experience. A great
It's going to premiere somewhere, right?
Yeah, so it's going to be premiering at the Global Impact Film Festival, which is a great opportunity for us. I think it's just great news. So I'm buzzing about that. Okay,
great. Thank you. So we have about 5 more minutes. So I'm going to go to Bernardo. And then Marina, did I ask you what you were working on next? No? Okay. So Bernardo, Marina, and Awo. Thank you, Alessa and Malets. And then we have a question for Casey on the live chat. So go ahead. What are you working on, Bernardo?
Wow. I have one idea for short film. I didn't actually start writing it, but I have the concept in my head and how I want to portray. The theme would be about grief. So I'm still also researching and learning and reading more about the content because it's a very delicate topic. And also, since I don't know when we will be back on campus, and because of the coronavirus, also all these relations between film productions will be a bit different, especially regarding with social distancing and everything. So it was interesting that you mentioned Professor Mack, because recently I have been reading a lot about her. There's a movie, her movie on Mubi, The Grand Bazaar, that I really want to watch, and maybe start doing something more related to art craft, combined with movies and collages, like moving collages or something. So it's also I don't have a very specific idea that I want to portray yet, but I'm kind of like developing and researching more about it to eventually have some production about this stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then Marina?
Yeah, this summer, as soon as classes end, I want to start shooting the visuals for a video that would be narrated by a poem about the experiences of people right now during COVID-19 in Miami. So it'll be a surrealist take. But we want to present it in a almost joyful manner, like showing all the joy and like comedy that people have, like the strengths people have in moments of just oppression and just sadness and isolation. So trying to turn that is my next project.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Awo, what's your next project? I like to push the envelope with everyone, I guess.
No problem. So I'm currently working with some other like I guess videographers and editors. We're in the same like Black arts group, and we're making this. I guess I can call it like an experience, but basically what it's supposed to do. Well, originally what the intent was for it to just show how like Black artists, like Black Dartmouth artists, how their artistry has maybe changed during times of COVID-19. And then, so it's called like B-roll of you being, and it was also supposed to include past footage of them performing at Dartmouth. But then I don't know the date. Well, it happened a while back in February, but the case of like Ahmaud Arbery came up, and then we were like, oh crap, maybe we should make this something larger. So essentially what we're seeking to do with our film is we want to make, you know, like collective commentary on the intense structural environmental racism that it's being unveiled by COVID-19. So it's like deaths that are happening, Black deaths that are occurring under COVID-19, but not due to COVID-19, but due to the state. So it's been fun so far. We most of the footage is coming from like submissions that we've gathered from people who go to Dartmouth and also alumni. So it's been pretty cool. And yeah, that's my next project. It's like a collaboration project, but I like it. It's really dope.
Wonderful. Collaborating is awesome. Thank you. Just a quick plug. On the live chat, now I'm able to see it. Long Doe says, the films look great, guys. Kelly Sullivan says, Casey, would you ever consider combining your love for rugby with film together? Oh, look, the question came up. Oh my gosh. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's my coach. Yeah, I think I've been thinking about it and kind of just like chewing on an idea lately. I mean, there's Invictus, and then there's like these little other rugby movies, and usually it's about men's teams. And I think it would be really great to just have, you know, this newborn movie of female women rugby. It could be so powerful, just like seeing women in that light, and kind of just like seeing them honestly just like get really physical and just like act like they've been told not to act all this time. And I think it could really show people that rugby is a thing, and it's very much alive out there for women and men and whoever. I definitely, absolutely.
I'm going to hold you to that. And some more comments. You heard it here, folks. Jessica Smith Creates says, it's great to see you all virtually, and I'm glad you're all working on cool stuff. Carlos Minchilo, I think he was the professor that was in Bernardo's film. Congratulations, everyone. Awesome work. Horses look great. Thanks, Carlos. Rachel Foreman says, congrats, everyone. Loved being able to watch everyone's work and hear about it afterwards. And then Rachel also says, Katie Foreman, you rock.
True.
All right. I think there's one more person that needs to share what they're going to do next. Adam.
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
Well, I'm also graduating, so no more classes for me, unfortunately. But this term, I have been working on a play. Alessa mentioned it earlier. She's one of my actors, and we've been working really hard over Zoom to try to create a piece of theater for you for this term. So please tune into that this Sunday. It's at 2 p.m. And the link and everything will be available on the theater department website. So check that out. It'll be great. And after that, who knows? Hopefully directing more things.
That's wonderful. So you are doing a Zoom show. What is the title of the show?
The show is called Gallery. It's a play written by a classmate of mine, a fellow 20 here at Dartmouth, Nick Gutierrez, who was also in our class.
Yeah.
And it's a really funny play about the end of the world. And it was a lot of fun to work on. We put a lot of time and energy into it, so check it out. I think you'll enjoy it.
Thank you guys so much for joining. I wish we could see all of the wonderful faces. There's another comment. Is there anyone that didn't get a chance to share? Yes, Plake It. Kelly Sullivan says, yes, please make it. You're a rock star. So yes, make that film. I encourage everyone to make their films. I think like sometimes people think that creativity is a luxurious thing, and you're seeing how much we need the imagination right now. And so even though, despite the circumstances, please continue to create, even if it's chronicling the things that you're seeing every day right now, or recording stories, or, you know, there's so many different ways to interact with real life and reconfigure it and invoke the imagination to make something beautiful. So I also want to thank Peter and Everest and all of the Film and Media Studies Department, and Long Doe, who was our TA, for just really going above and beyond. Also, like this summer, we do have classes. There are there are four, well, Professor Mack, Professor Flanagan, myself, we're all teaching this summer, as well as Jeff Ruoff, Professor Jeffrey Ruoff, and I feel like there's someone that I'm missing. I don't intend to do that, but there are a lot of fun and creative things that are going to be happening this summer as well, to keep you engaged in life and the creative process. So thanks so much, everyone. We gotta skedaddle. Oh, wait. Oh, there's some private comments happening. I heart you guys. You make my heart sing. Oh, there we go. There's a heart. And I hope to run into you all again. And those that are graduating seniors, the show must go on. So you're really the leaders of the future, and because I know you all, I know that there'll be some wonderful problem solvers helping us out of some stuff. So thank you, and thanks again, Peter and Everest. Right.